stories that I've heard today brought back a lot of memories, both good and bad, sad and happy. But resiliency is one thing that I just like to know I can't speak on.
I can add to that.
Go get him, man.
Going to Albany High, everybody knew Mr. Feeney and Mr. Finn. Well, Finn was our printing teacher, and he taught my twin brother how to print, and read and write. And he got a job at Moore's Business Forum, worked us all the way up to the top supervisor there, all because of Mr. Finn, one of the greatest guys you could know. But going back, those were not parochial, but wood shop, machine shop. I wish we could do that again today. We've talked about everything here but schools, and we're going backwards. We could teach the kids a trade today, we would be better off. So, I think I've said enough.
I don't know whether it's known, but Cougar Field was once named Feeney Field. Feeney Field, but no one calls it Feeney Field. It's still Cougar Field.
On the resiliency, my grandparents were Azorean Portuguese, and they came and bought their house for $4,000, and he was really worried about having to borrow the $2,000. And so he just scrimped, saved, and worked real hard and paid it off in a year. My uncle still lives in that house. But my grandfather had, I remember at one point when I was very small and my sister just younger than me, he had 2 ducks in the yard, and he told us, that's your duck and Terry's duck. And we just decided they were our ducks, and it came her birthday, and it was time to have duck dinner, and I don't know why they killed my duck. That really bothered me. It was her birthday. I thought they should do her duck. He always had a garden in the yard. He did the onions and garlic and the mint that they still use at the Portuguese festival at St. John's Sopas, and they had a special mint. He always grew that. And he had blackberries on a trellis and stuff. And his oldest son, who was a Renaissance man, my Uncle John, rented a house at 730 Cornell. And it turns out his backyard neighbor was around the corner, so the corner house was in between, so they weren't really next to each other, but ended up the backyards were concurrent with Walt Carvello's at the time, who was my dad's best buddy. And I remember they both had gardens going back there, and they just helped each other out left and right. And Uncle John did ocean fishing, some professional, some amateur. He did photography, and when he did something, he did it all the way. He got all the books, he learned all about it, really went into it. I remember helping him put an antenna, radio antenna, when he was doing ham radio on top of the apartment building next to where they're redoing the doctor's office on Key Road in Solano when he lived in there. And he repaired TVs in his basement at one point. A real Renaissance guy. But he got into gardening, and he and Walt gardened together. Other Azorean Portuguese family, a lot of good tradition.
I don't know how resilient this is, but where the El Cerrito Plaza is now was a drive-in movie. Before that, it was the dog track. We had a dog track right here in this lovely area. I was almost born at the dog track. It so happened my mother went into labor. My dad says, "Hold it, I got a dog in the next race." Fortunately, we made it all the way to Oakland, and I was born in Peralta. But I have a brother who was born in Albany Hospital in room 13, and he's never been the same since. But there's a lot of neat things happen in this town, a lot of good stories, a lot of funny stories. We probably had a little house of ill repute, who knows? But I do know that if you needed a little excitement, all you had to do was go to El Cerrito. El Cerrito was wide open. And there was gambling, there was whatever else you wanted to do. Six Bells brings a lot to mind many years ago. Anyhow, it wasn't far away. It was nearby where we could just go. and do whatever we wanted to do when we went to El Cerrito. Oh, don't forget the
I really have one other thing. I don't know how many of you remember my Aunt Susie Kreider? Maybe not. Jim, did you buy her house when she passed away? Well, well, she used to grow a lot of fruits and vegetables in her backyard, and she decided one year she was going to plant potatoes. So I used to always have to take her to the Gilman nursery, and she'd get, I don't know, these special potato eyes or whatever, and she'd have the whole front yard full of potatoes. Do you remember that, Jim? Yeah. Yeah, but she was quite. Yeah, but she did a lot of good. She'd make quilts. She'd collect old pieces of fabric and take fabric apart and made hundreds of quilts for the hospitals, for the orphanages, and she was quite a person.
How about the supermodel, Catherine Webb?
Nothing.
You want to say something about Catherine Webb?
Loette.
Historical.
Oh, yes, we know Catherine Webb. Loette, I can't fail, Loette Fletcher. Story.
We moved to Albany because we were downtown. It's to stay in an apartment. Try to do that now.
I'm still interested in hearing more about the home economics aspects of life in Albany, the canning, the seamstress aspects.
Well, sewing, your mom.
No, but there wasn't it Berlin School, Cornell School? I don't remember whether they had the classes, but there were other things that you could do, and they used the schools. We're talking about sewing and
Or cooking. How did you learn to
cooking.
cook?
Oh, cooking! There was a lot.
You're a great cook.
The one thing though that was cooking, and Eldon can he could talk about this too, is that we were in Scouts. We had Girl Scouts. There was Boy Scouts, a lot of them, and also what's the other girls one? Campfire girls. And cooking was one of the things that the girls learned. And when we went camping up in the hill, why that's what we would do. And the kids learned; they really loved doing it. And it was important because they earned credit in their scouting that way. And it was the scouting was a really big operation here in Albany, and I know that I can say, both for boys and girls, that it really, I guess, made a difference in their lives to have had the program that both Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts had. And we loved to cook. And actually, just a week and a half ago, what's today, Sunday? It was last week. Our church down the Albany Methodist was having a picnic at home in the church. And what did they want me to do? S'mores. So that's what any one of my kids would know, s'mores. That's all there is to it.
Margie.
The question was brought up a minute ago about our schools and kids learning trades and things like that. I remember very clearly back when my kids were at Albany High, we had everything. We had home ec, we had shop, metal shop, auto shop, wood shop, photography. It was all there. And the kid come out of that school having something to lean on. We didn't create a whole lot of computer whizzes in those days, but we taught kids how to get along in life. And not every